Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Kayla Nicole 999 here. Today is Thursday, November 19th, 2020. Any of you that watched my video from last night from day 5's check-in knows that I wasn't feeling great. Like, my life is kind of falling apart, which always happens, but we're moving forward. Why? Because that's the only thing we can do. We can either sulk and go back down into the pits of despair, and that literally does nothing to change our life. That just causes more problems. Or we can get up and face the day and just try our best to get past these challenges. Okay, so today is going to be day 6, and I am going to discuss the things that I didn't discuss in yesterday's video because I just wasn't feeling up to it. So first, yesterday I got like one thing on my to-do list done, so I moved the other 2 things to today's to-do list. Y'all know what a to-do list is. We're not discussing that anymore. What's important is continuing to get the things done on your to-do list. Even if you don't get them done that day, move them to the next days. All right, so what I wanted to discuss yesterday was toxic communication versus healthy communication. Now, I grew up with a narcissistic mother. There was only toxic communication in my household. So I grew up not even knowing what healthy communication was. There was a short time in elementary school where they did briefly discuss I statements, which I statements are a very healthy form of communication, but I didn't know how to use them because I didn't have anyone that I could use I statements with. We screamed at each other in our house. That's the only way we communicated. Or we slammed doors, or we walked out. There was no healthy communication in my house. Unfortunately, my mom is in her 50s and she still doesn't know how to communicate in healthy manners, at least not at home. She gets by in the real world. She gets by at work, but I was her scapegoat. She treated me much differently than she treats anybody else, including my own sister, which is incredibly frustrating, but it is what it is. There's literally absolutely nothing I can do about it. So moving on, we're going to discuss 6 types of toxic communication styles. So the first one is going to be blame. What is an example of blame? Okay, so say you have a partner that is unhappy in the relationship and they cheated because they are unhappy in the relationship. But when the other partner who was cheated on confronts the cheating partner, instead of saying, I am very unhappy in this relationship, and that is why I chose to cheat, that partner is going to say, well, you were doing this and this and this and this, and I cheated because of it, because you're making me miserable. That is blame. Toxic. You don't want to date somebody like that. You do not want to be in a relationship with somebody like that. You don't want to be a friend of somebody like that. You don't need somebody in your life that is going to blame you for their own toxic behaviors. It's as simple as that. Okay? Moving on, number 2, we're going to discuss stonewalling. So what is stonewalling? It's avoiding topics. They stop engaging with you. You are trying to have a conversation to fix your issues, and you say something that upsets them. So automatically, they just completely stop talking to you. And, they could turn around and walk out the room without even saying, I'm not going to discuss this anymore. Some of them may say, I'm not going to discuss this anymore. But does that fix any of your problems? No, of course not. It's childish behavior. It's perfectly fine for somebody to say, I'm not ready to discuss this right now. Can we discuss it later when I've had a chance to calm down? But just choosing to not have the conversation with you, that's not going to fix anything. Why would you remain in a relationship with somebody who is not willing to fix things? I used to. I won't anymore. Moving on to number 3, nitpicking, which is criticism over minor flaws, okay? Let's see, what are minor flaws? I mean, it could be anything. It could be absolutely anything. So my incredibly toxic, narcissistic ex-best friend, we would go out and then she would sit there and tell me how, she didn't like the way that I behaved when we went out, and it was embarrassing to her, and I talked too loudly, and I did this and I did that, and it was all these little things, right? And I would just sit there and take it and apologize to her and like feel these massive amounts of guilt. Why? Why did I allow her to do that to me? I mean, if I'm too loud and obnoxious for you, then stop hanging out with me. You're the one who keeps asking me to go out, but you're also the one who keeps complaining about my behavior when we go out. I personally don't have a problem with other people overhearing my conversations. I am not embarrassed by myself, but if you're embarrassed by me, by all means, don't hang out with me. Go find somebody to hang out with that doesn't embarrass you. Pretty simple, right? That's what I should have said to her. Did I? No, of course not. But anyway, moving on. So let's move on to number 4, not listening. It is what it is. I mean, do I really have to explain not listening? I'm going to anyway, but you're constantly repeating yourself over and over and over again because the person that you're trying to communicate with literally does not listen to you. So I dated this person for a really long time, and the most frustrating thing about our relationship is this person just literally would not listen to me. I would have to repeat myself over and over and over and over and over again. I would literally say something in one text message, and 2 text messages later, he would be asking me questions that were literally the things that I just answered a couple texts ago. And I would have to stop and say, do you even read my text? I literally just told you everything that you just asked me 2 texts ago. I can't date somebody who does that. Oh my gosh, it is the most frustrating thing. Like, you're going in circles having these ridiculous conversations that then turn into arguments because the person literally just can't listen to you. Nope. Don't deal with it, y'all. Just don't. Shut it down. I'm not going to repeat myself over and over again to somebody who just does not listen. Moving on to number 5. Number 5 is going to be defensiveness. What is defensiveness? It is attacking another person in order to shift blame. Again, moving back to that cheating partner, they're bringing up something that you did years ago, Oh, well, I cheated, but do you remember the time that you flirted with that guy right in front of me 3 years ago? 3 years ago doesn't matter. 3 years ago is in the past. We have already moved on from 3 years ago. We are talking about you cheating on me last night. People get defensive all the time. I'm not going to say that's necessarily a reason to end the relationship, but if somebody is constantly attacking you in order to shift the blame all the time, that is definitely a reason to walk away from that relationship. And then moving on to number 6, which is going to be my final topic in this video for toxic communication styles. Contempt. What is contempt? Being disrespectful, mocking, sarcasm. My mom, again, a woman in her 50s, we will get into arguments, and the next thing I know, I'm seeing her going, lady, you're not a 3-year-old. You're a grown woman in your 50s. Why are you acting like a child? Why are you mocking me? Why can't you just have a conversation with me? These are all incredibly toxic forms of communication, and you really shouldn't put up with it. So let's move on, because a lot of people don't actually even understand what healthy communication is, because so many of us we didn't grow up with it. We haven't been around it. And many of us that grew up with toxic parents then move on to toxic relationships, because toxicity is our norm. We're comfortable with it. But we don't want to stay in toxic relationships, do we? No. Okay. So the first form of healthy communication is going to be clear requests instead of demands. What is a clear request? Well, you tell the person exactly what you need, but you don't demand that they do it. A demand would be, go do the dishes now. Do people respond to that well? No. A clear request would be, I really need some help getting the chores done around this house. Can you please have the dishes done for me by the end of the day? They can say yes, they can say no, or it allows for compromise. Maybe they're busy, maybe they can't do the dishes by the end of the day, but maybe they can get the dishes done by midday tomorrow. What happens if they don't? That's a topic for another day. We're just talking about clear requests instead of demands. Moving on to number 2, voicing your needs instead of acting out. So what does that mean? You know, you're trying to have a conversation with a person and they get, you, not they, you get really upset for whatever reason because let's say they are not listening to you. But instead of saying, I feel that you are not listening to what I am saying, you just get really upset and you're like, and you walk out and you slam the door. Walking out, slamming the door, that sigh, that is acting out. What would be voicing your needs would say, I feel that you are not listening to me. I have been having to repeat myself over and over again. Can you please focus on what I am saying? It's going to be a way to voice your needs. You can also let them know if they can't focus on what you're saying and they can't listen to you, then you're just going to go ahead and end the conversation. But when you end the conversation, you don't do that. And you don't walk away and you don't slam the door, okay? You don't act like a child. You maybe try to go back and have the conversation at another time when they are more open to listening. Why aren't they listening? Maybe they have a big project at work and maybe they just simply can't focus. You need to find out, you know. I can't tell you why you are not able to communicate with certain people. That depends on you and that depends on the person. I'm just trying to help you communicate more effectively. Number 3, I statements. I've been using I statements already. So it's another way for not blaming people. You know, a lot of people get in the arguments and they're like, you make me feel so angry. Does that do anything positive? No, the other person just automatically becomes defensive when you say you make me. So what is a better way to communicate? I feel really angry when you don't complete the chores you agreed to complete by the time you agreed to complete them by. I feel hurt when you disregard my boundaries. Starting with I feel instead of you make me is how to effectively communicate using I statements. So moving on to number 4 in my list of healthy communication tips. This is a really hard one. It's really hard, especially for me, okay? But it's using a conversational tone. Why is that so important? Well, when you start using a demeaning tone or a sarcastic tone, the conversation is just ruined. The other person automatically gets defensive. They start mirroring your tone. So what is a conversational tone? It is the tone that I am using right now. However, the second that you start to become angry and your voice starts to rise and you're starting to get really just, you know, your body, your stances change, your posture changes, you start crossing your arms, your voice goes up the way that my voice is going up, you go into that sarcastic, okay? You're acting like a child again. You are acting like a child. So it's imperative to keep a conversational tone, like the tone that I am using right now when you are wanting to communicate in healthy ways. It's the hardest thing in the world to do when you're trying to communicate with somebody who is incapable of using a conversational tone, and they don't realize that they are incapable of using a conversational tone. My mother, again, the last time I spoke to the woman, you know, her and I were having a disagreement, and I came back in and I said, why can't anyone ever disagree with you? She automatically gets defensive and she goes, well, it's your tone. But she doesn't hear the tone in her own voice, okay? To me, my mother's, actually, she didn't even say it was my tone. She said it was my voice, okay? It's your voice, okay? I try really hard not to hurt people, but people constantly nitpick me and say things to hurt me. And that really hurt me because to me, my mother's voice is literally like the sound of nails on a chalkboard. Like, the woman's voice makes me cringe because she does not know how to use a conversational tone when she is having a disagreement with me. But she is projecting that onto me. She literally cannot see that toxic behavior in herself. She can only see me responding to her tone with my own demeaning or sarcastic or angry tone. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating getting people to acknowledge that they also have issues and that they are projecting their issues onto you. How do you fix that? I don't know, because that's all on the other person. That is not on you. Maybe I'll have to do some research on that someday. Let's move on to number 5, which is willingness to acknowledge wrongdoing. So you catch somebody cheating on you. You have proof that they cheated on you. I never cheated on you. You're just making that up. It's all in your head. And then you show them whatever proof you have. Or you tell them about whatever proof you had. My kid's dad, he went to a party with a girl he had cheated on me with before. I didn't like the fact that he was going, but I was trying to have faith in him, so I allowed him to go anyway. A few hours later, I hear a car pull up in the back of our apartment. So I somehow intuitively knew it was him. I knew the girl was with him. And I go to my back window and I see him and the girl kissing. So he comes in, I confront him, and he totally denies everything. And I said, well, I saw you in the back window. He still wouldn't acknowledge any wrongdoing and ended up just leaving, you know? Sorry, but if you can't say, yeah, I did this, then I'm not going to have a relationship with you, whether it's friendship, you know, or a romantic relationship or a family relationship. If you cannot acknowledge it when you do something wrong, and if you cannot apologize, and if you cannot attempt to change that behavior, we're done. I have no reason to continue the relationship with you. And number 6, a final one in our healthy communication tips is acceptance of the other person's right to express themselves. That means being willing to agree to disagree, you know? Let's talk about kids. You do not like the way that your daughter is dressing. However, is she doing anything wrong by dressing in whatever style of clothes? No, she's really just expressing herself. And although you don't like it, is it okay to really control what she wears? In your opinion, her shorts are too short, but they're within the school's dress code guidelines. I mean, you can be a very controlling parent and tell your daughter you're not leaving the house like that. You can pick out your daughter's clothes for her. Is that going to work? Is your daughter really going to want to spend any time with you? Is your daughter going to start acting out in other ways because she can't even express herself with her own style of clothes? Oh yeah, trust me on this one. She's gonna go out and start doing some other things that she really shouldn't be doing, because that's what I did when people try to control me. So, that is all on my list for today's video. So be sure to, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you didn't like this video, then leave me a thumbs out. I cannot talk today, you guys. But here I am making these videos anyway. Why? Because some days you just gotta do it. Otherwise, it will never get done, right? Okay. If you didn't like this video, then please be sure to give me a thumbs down. And if you have any comments, or you just want to talk with me, or you want to talk about other forms of toxic communication, or give our other viewers tips for healthy communication, then please leave them in the comment section. I have been having a lot of people put in links to inappropriate websites. I am literally blocking anybody that does that, just so you all know. I know that the people doing this aren't watching my videos. Yes, I'm a sex worker, but this is not a place to share links to adult websites, okay? It's just not. And if you are going to comment and you are going to tell my viewers to do something incredibly toxic, such as going through another person's phone and hiring a hacker to go through another person's phone, I'm going to leave your comment up there. I'm not going to remove that one, but I am going to tell you how toxic I think that is, and I am going to advise my viewers to not do that. So please, guys, keep your comments appropriate. I would love to discuss things with y'all. I would love to have conversations with y'all, but this is not a place to advertise your services on my channel. If you would like to advertise your services, then by all means create your own channel and advertise your services, but this is my channel. So thank you for being appropriate in your comments. As always, if you want to stay connected with me, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. I am going to link to 2 videos. I have not decided which ones they are yet, or even what the topics are going to be. Probably going to continue linking to Angie Atkinson just because she has some great videos. I'm probably going to start linking to Richard Grannon. And I'm probably going to see if I can find some videos about communication and, healthy communication or whatnot. So anyway, be sure to look for those. As always, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you. And I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, loves.